Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 216. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris and Josh. Guys, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, although I got no sleep last night, so hopefully I don't fall asleep during this.
No.
But I was playing our game that we're talking about today, and that really made my day, so I'm in a good mood. How about you, Josh?
I'm doing all right, believe it or not. I, too, got, no sleep last night. Not because I was playing a game. I just couldn't sleep, so I stared at the TV for a while. Unfortunately, nothing fun.
Gotcha. Well, obviously, Ryan is not here because, well, we've replaced Ryan. He sucks. We said we're done. So we have invited our good friend who's trying out for the role of Ryan, Mr. Parker. Welcome back, my friend. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Yeah, I'm glad to replace Ryan. It's been a long time coming.
You know what? I like you already. You got the job.
I mean,
all part of the plan.
The interview is not even over, but I think you are already nailing it. So
yeah, we get the
My
point.
hair's brown, so there's a step up.
You actually have hair, so that's a plus.
That too.
Yeah, he's going to replace me, too.
Oh, gosh.
Mine's going.
I know, Josh. You better hold on to that, man. Once it's gone, you're on the open market.
Yeah, you're next.
Well, no, guys, it's so good to be back. I wasn't on last week, but I was listening to most of the episode just today, actually, and it's really good. I wish I could have been on because I had even more to say about it. The Wii was a interesting time. Had a lot of highs for sure, and had a lot of, I think, lows that really hurt Nintendo in the years after the hype of the Wii, which they've recovered from, obviously, now a Switch. But, interesting era for Nintendo for sure. But we're not talking about the Wii today. We got a topic that we'll get to in a little bit. But I first want to hear what you guys are radical Rexing about. Parker, you're back, man. We haven't heard from you in a while. Dude, what is exciting in life for you right now?
Well, game-wise, that I've been playing and excited about, Radical Rexing about, my daughter and I beat the first Donkey Kong Country game on the Nintendo Switch, so we played that together.
Awesome.
She's 5 now, so her and I beat that together. And then I've also... Since the last time I was on, I was creating that Super Mega Baseball 3 team. I finished that a while back, and I've been playing that. I've got all 30 teams in there and running through that. It's a fairly easy game. Maybe I should raise the difficulty because I've won a few games like 52-1. So
nice.
And then another game I'm excited about is Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. I'm really looking forward to that. I only played the first one in a kiosk at a Target one when that was coming out.
Okay.
But the Age of Calamity, I've been playing the demo on the Switch. And I was playing it with my brother-in-law, and we were running through it. I'm like, this is actually really fun. It gives me old nostalgic feelings of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King on the GameCube.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's I love that game.
Absolutely.
And a few other games I'm looking forward to is I know it's not Nintendo, but Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PS4, and then Hogwarts Legacy. I'm really looking forward to playing that when that comes out. Pikmin 3, I'm probably going to get that for my birthday next week, so I'm looking forward to that too. I've only played the first one, so
oh wow.
So I didn't have a Wii. My parents and my brothers had one, so I didn't play Pikmin 2 or 3 on the Wii U. And then I've also looking forward to another game that I just found out about is the Serious Sam collection is coming to the Switch.
What's Serious Sam?
So Serious Sam is kind of like a Doom, Duke Nukem first-person shooter where it's like a sandbox where it's like there's a building here and there's just a big wide open space. It's very spacious, And the third one, my cousin Mason and I were playing that together, and we were just cracking up the whole time. It can be a little gory at times, but yeah, for some reason, player one was faster than player two. So when we would sprint to locations, he would like be falling behind, and my cousin would just be like, "Wait for me!" Like, why won't he wait?
Don't leave me behind. I'll have to check it out. Serious Sam.
That's coming out pretty soon too, and then both my daughters and I have been playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. So
nice.
We just took down the Team Rocket's leader, and then we went to Marowak and rested his soul, and then it's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
So,
I'm curious because your oldest one is 5, right?
Yeah, she's 5 years old, just turned 5 in October. So
how's her dynamic with games? Yeah, that's right. It's a good time.
Can she sit there and actually play? Donkey Kong Country was a little bit challenging for her. She could do a lot of the earlier levels, and a lot of the water levels she could do. But sometimes on those harder ones, I have to kind of take over. But she does pretty well, especially with the Pokemon game is super easy for any kid to play. The 2-player version, you can play 2-player on that. She's really good at Kirby and stuff like Kirby's Adventure for the regular Nintendo. So she's good at a lot of platformers. And
so she understands the concept. Like she understands you hold this down to run forward, you hold the B to sprint, and to jump. She gets that.
The sprinting she doesn't get too well. Every once in a while I'll have to not have to, but I'll try to be like, if you sprint, you can make that jump easier. But a lot of times she'll just jump and jump and walk without sprinting and jumping. But yeah, we beat Super Mario World together, and she's played the original Mario Kart. So, cool. And then coming up I told you that for Christmas, her and her sister are getting gifts that or games that came out when I was their age. Yeah. So this coming Christmas is games that came out in 1995. So she'll be getting like Yoshi's Island and I love it. And Donkey Kong Country 2.
It's really cool that you do that.
So yeah. So and then my son will get in on that when he's a little bit older. So
yes, yeah. If you guys
sorry for the long.
No, that's fine. Parker. He has a really cool way of kind of reliving his own nostalgia through his children and giving them like similar experiences where as they progress in the ages, like he just said, of what he's been giving them. He has got all of his old carts, so he rewraps them and then he gives them for Christmas. And to them, it's brand new. And this is awesome. I think it's really cool that you do it that way because it allows them to appreciate it the way we did. Like you get these couple games here and that's all you have. You don't have this little Netflix library of like, I'm backing out. I'm going to go play this game now. Like, no, here's Donkey Kong Country 2 and Mario World, I think that's really awesome that you do that. And I'm probably going to have to follow suit, I think, and do that for my own children. My daughter, I really I want so bad to play games with them. Jack, he can't. He's just about to turn 2 and the dude still holds the controller upside down every time he touches it. So he just thinks that's the standard way to play it. But he has like an actual interest. Like I see him, he always picks the controller and he wants to see it and he wants to play, but he doesn't know what to do, which is so much more different than my daughter. My daughter never really wanted to play, it was there. My son wants to play. He just totally can't because he doesn't know how to yet. But we got to get that controller right side up first. We'll one step at a time. But my daughter, I really want to get her into it. She just turned 4, so I'm afraid, I don't know, maybe later this year she might start pick up on it. Because I just am, as a dad and a Nintendo nerd, I'm just itching to like really like play games like Donkey Kong Country with her and Mario and stuff like that. So I love that, Parker. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool, and they're getting it in their stockings, so they come down for Christmas, and those are the gifts that are in their stockings, and they're all excited about it. And I just want to almost recreate the kind of the emotions and feelings I felt when I was young, like when I saw Mario 64 when we moved into the 3D, and I was like, whoa, look at these graphics. And
yes,
so I'm kind of want to recreate those kind of same nostalgic feelings for my own kids.
That's cool.
And it gives them like an appreciation for those types of graphics, whereas if you start them off with like Mario Odyssey right now, if you showed them Yoshi's Island after that, they might not be as impressed because it doesn't look as flashy. So it's a good way to kind of like build up from there. So that's a really clever idea. I appreciate that.
That's cool. Well, Chris, why don't we hop over to you, man? What are you Radical Rexing about?
Oh, not too much. I mean, this is, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I've just been very busy. Every day is just insane. But some things that I have been excited for are, like gaming wise, I was like, I need to play something this week because it's been like a couple of weeks that I haven't played anything. Mm-hmm. So I put in Mario 3D All-Stars and started playing Mario 64 a little bit more. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I don't really have that much of a history with Mario 64. I got my N64 way after it came out, and that was my first system. So it's really interesting to kind of play that game with kind of like a fresh, open mind. Whereas, a lot of other people have nostalgia for it. But it is one of those games where, like, I can feel the nostalgia for it. Like it just brings you into it automatically, and you kind of feel like you're 10 all over again. So I think it holds up just fine. The camera controls are a little surprisingly off, but
they are.
Like and we've mentioned this before. We've all been through it before. We know, we've played games that have bad cameras. It's not that new to me. It's just a little more difficult than some of the more difficult. Camera games. But Mario 64 is awesome. Oh, what is that? Jacob's holding up a nice Peach's castle, but I'm not sure what that's from. Is that like a toy?
Yeah, it's a toy. My daughter got it for her birthday.
That is cool.
It's a place that you'll probably see them at GameStop and stuff, but it's like a Mario. It's the same replica from Mario 64.
Wow, it looks like just like it. Yeah.
Yes, it's cool.
Cool. I never saw it before.
Now, when you say 10, you mean 6, right? When Super Mario 64 came out, you said you were 10?
Oh, I was probably like 7-ish or something.
Oh,
but like when I got my N64, I was 10, and I think that was like 98. Yeah. So, I got like, what did I get? Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah.
So it was a little, I just got the stuff that was new at the time and didn't think to go back and play older things. And, but yeah, it's fun. And I think the levels are great. I love the music, and it's interesting to see all these, callbacks to things that I didn't even know were in the game. Shy Guys were in Mario 64. I thought they were just in like Mario Advance 2. That was my reference for them. So that was a nice surprise, and just seeing like the Pokies and all these other things that I that are like referenced in Mario Sunshine and all the things that I played after that.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's kind of like it's nice to discover a game that you missed out on, and it's similar to when I played Super Metroid with Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
You go back and you understand why people appreciate it. So it's
fun.
So that's the game that we're going to be talking about today. I've been playing that lately, and oh man, I have a lot to say, and yeah, you'll see. But I love this game, and the last thing, I picked up a lot of games last week because there's some great Black Friday deals going on right now.
Great.
So I got Mario Maker 2, Zelda Link's Awakening, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Yoshi's Crafted World and BioShock for like very good prices. So
Wow.
very excited for that. Will I have time to play them? No, but I need them, and I'm going to play
them. They're
them.
there.
Yeah, they are there. I wanted to ask you, Parker, about the Serious Sam collection. Do you know if the GameCube one is on that one? Because I know there was a Serious Sam on GameCube.
I don't know if it's.
I think it's Next Encounter.
It's First Encounter, Second Encounter, and BFE 3 are the 3 games that are on there.
Okay.
And I know Second Encounter is only 1 player because I also have that one on my Xbox One. I had it on the Xbox 360, but it was an original Xbox game, so it probably would have been also on GameCube.
Yeah.
But the BFE 3 was the one that was 2-player that was super fun. So
okay, that's cool. I love getting games that we never had a chance to play on Nintendo systems before on the Switch, like BioShock. Like BioShock's an amazing game, and now I can play it not just on a Nintendo system but portably too. So that's cool about Serious Sam. That was a game that I always wanted when I was young and just never got around to it. I think it was like $20 when it came out too. It was like a budget game.
What was weird is when I got it on the 360, I had never heard of it or anything like that. I knew about Doom and Duke Nukem, and I was just like, well, what is this? And it was on sale for, I think, for like $1.29. I'm like, all right, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So then I got it. And then it turns out to be one of those games that are just like a gem that I just really enjoy. And the character can be a little like egotistical and stuff like that, but I had a lot of fun with it and running around with my cousin.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Thanks.
I need to ask about BioShock. I know I'm not a big rated M guy, but I mean, Parker, you've tried to sell me on that game before and saying it's a really good series. So I don't know. What do you think? Should I try to look into it a little bit?
I think so.
I think it's a really good game. I loved. I've only played the first one.
Same.
I have all 3 of them. But like Chris, I don't have all the time in the world, but I've had all 3 of them for a long time. But I've only played the first one, and the first one I really enjoyed. It was a very good story. There is some kind of gore here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty clean. Obviously, it's a first-person shooter, and there's killing in it and stuff like that. But so it's not like. I don't know, gutting somebody open or something like that. But
chopping someone's head off, Resident Evil 4 stuff.
No, there's none of that.
No, there's jump scares though. I'm not like a horror guy. That's not my thing. I don't like jump scares. So it does have a few of those, but like there's not too many. And I mean, literally the only time I threw my controller was at BioShock when I played it at my friend's house.
Oh my god!
I screamed and threw the controller and like jumped back into bed. So there's that. But I mean, like, it's such a cool story. It looks amazing. It's a very interesting concept, and the world is just so unique. So I think you would appreciate it, Jacob.
Okay, I'll look into it for sure. I'm curious because sometimes these older games that come to Switch, like I got Skyrim. Someone's like, "You gotta get it. It's coming until you got." I got it. I barely played it. I was like, "This." I don't know. I felt like in a modern post Breath of the Wild world, an old Skyrim game really shows its age, and I can see why for the time when it came out, why it was so revolutionary. Absolutely, but today I'm just like, it doesn't hold up. Yeah, but I'm curious about that. And dude, side note, talk about jump scares. I was playing Five Nights at Freddy. I always dive in like randomly with that game because I hate horror, and I'm still working on the first game. I'm on the 3rd night, and dude, it got me good. I don't know how. I was checking all my cameras. There was nothing. I was like, I'm good. I'm good. There's nothing happening. And dude, yellow duck is like, I think it's a duck, maybe some or chicken. I don't know. It got me good. freaking scared me. I jumped and I yelled. I was actually at my girlfriend's house, and she's like, "Babe, calm down." I'm like, "No, it scared me." Oh my gosh,
You're not selling me on that game. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible.
Yeah.
Don't play it. And my son was on my lap too, so I jump scare, and then I freak him out, so he starts to cry, and it was bad situation. So
sounds like it.
I haven't played it, but I do have them. They're free on Game Pass, so
you should check them out.
I downloaded them, but I haven't played them yet.
If you want to scare your kids, check them out.
What do you do though? Like you look at cameras, and then sometimes a thing will jump out, and it's a duck?
So you have basically you have to survive the night. Obviously, 5 Nights at Freddy, and there's 5 nights. But you are to basically watch your security cameras. But every time you turn on the security camera mode, your power goes down. You have 100% at the starting of the night, and it slowly drains. And every time if you watch them and they move from room to room, and you hear little sounds, and it's really creepy because like you'll be watching a room and there's nothing there, and then you switch cameras to kind of look around, and you come back to the room, and all of a sudden there's a freaking like animatronic robot looking at you in the face, and it's getting closer to you, and you got to follow it. And once they get like right outside your door, you got to slam the door shut. And when you close the doors, it really drains your power to your room to keep you safe. Like you're like double moving here. So, and you just have to, and then you have to turn on your camera to see the security cameras, which drains even more. So it's like 3 times as fast draining your energy to make sure when they're gone. Because when they're gone, you got to open everything back up so you don't run it. Because once you run out of power, then you're just hoping that they don't show up. And if you're not anywhere close to the end of the night, you're basically dead, So I actually am intrigued by it because you talk about good story, like the lore. There's a deep lore to like these creatures, and it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. So that's what gets me is I like a good, interesting story. And I absolutely hate horror, so I don't normally watch them. But if I get attached to the story, then I kind of want to see how things play out. So, like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Haunting of the Hill or whatever on Netflix. Don't. It's terrible, and it's really bad. And
I wasn't going to.
I got hooked on the sequel called, like, Haunting of Bly House or something. Bly Manor, and I saw stuff that really freaked with my mind for nights on end, and I shouldn't have watched it, but it was because the story was so intriguing and I wanted to see how it played out. And I started to watch the first one, and I forced myself to stop. I'm like, I can't, this is messing with my mind. When I watch crap like that, my mind goes places. I start thinking about my loved ones dying or whatever, and
so don't.
Yeah, I know. That's why I stopped. I quit.
Okay,
I quit cold turkey. I stopped.
Lesson learned.
After the movie The Ring came out is when I swore off horror movies. When someone started to crawl through my TV, that I'm afraid of white noise forever because
that was in the trailer. Like that was kind of like a warning to not watch that movie.
I was a kid when that movie came out, man.
All right.
My dad and sister were all about horror.
Nah, not for me. I'll stick to my baby games. Thank you very much.
Same. Well, anyways, jumping over to Josh. I am a talker. This is what happens when I host. Josh, the man who is not like us and has all the time in the world to play 5 games at once every single week. Don't deny it, Josh. We see it all over social media. How are you?
Yeah, I just post a lot. I am just fine. I am. From the gaming perspective, since I am still working from home, which I'm okay with, even though I don't love my job, but there is that. I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla when I get the chance.
Nice.
I've been looking forward to that one like all year. So I got it on my Xbox One, and I don't really care what everybody says about frame rate issues or whatever else. I think it runs perfectly fine, looks great, plays great. I can't play it when the kid's awake. Of course, she's only 6, so. It's either when she's like in bed or if I'm home and she's at school or something still, then, but, other than having to really split my time up with it, it's been really cool. Now, outside of that, something else kind of cool I got today, just a little while ago, was the little Game & Watch, the Mario Game & Watch.
Nice.
Very cool.
Finally showed up. I had been waiting for that to get delivered. It got delivered to the wrong house, long story short, but somebody brought it to me. But yeah, it's got a lot of character to it. It's, kind of simplistic in a lot of ways, but the D-pad feels awesome. I don't know how to explain it without really just, you actually trying it. But for just having like 3 little games on it, it's actually really cool. And I'm forgetting one. Well, it escapes me, but yeah, that's mostly been it. I mean, like I said, there's not a whole lot else going on at the moment. Oh, I did finish Mario Galaxy.
I saw that
again. Yeah.
This man has time to play games.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 120 and 64 Sunshine and Galaxy on the collection version of it. It took me 2 months. I've done it all before. It's just been a while.
Yeah. I'm gonna need to go on, Parker.
Oh, I also got 120 in Mario 64 and not Sunshine, but Galaxy. It was my first time ever playing Galaxy, so I beat that all the way. I got all the all the shines and Sunshine except for the all the blue coins. I got I think 3 levels done, but I'm just like I'm done. I've done this before, so I'm not collecting all these blue coins again.
The blue coins are awful, and really in that game, there's just not much payoff at all for getting all 120 anyway. There's like a different, I don't even know if I'd call it a scene, almost like a different picture at the very end of the credits, and that's it.
That's come on.
I just didn't like that there wasn't a great guide within the game of, there's this many blue coins and you have to be on this level to get those blue coins. And I'm just like, I don't feel like following a guide to find them all again. So
no, that's something they should have fixed with this collection, and then it didn't even do it. So
yeah,
lame.
Well, Josh, I'm gonna have to ask you for some advice because I have always had just 1 star left, and you too, Parker. I've always had 119 stars. I can never get that level in Galaxy where like you have to. I think it's like you get all the purple coins and all the platforms disappear or whatever. If you know what I mean, and if I'm remembering correctly, but that's so hard. I've tried that so many times, and I just can't come up with like the best way to do it. So. I might need you to like play for me if there's like handoff mode or something. I hope there is.
The giant 8-bit Luigi that the platform.
I think that's it. Yeah.
You actually don't have to get all the purple coins, so don't like try to be like I need to get all in this area. You can just. I kind of just followed around the outside of the left, and I did go back and forth, but I made sure to leave myself a path because after you collect them all, you got to get back to your original start point. So. So I kind of just followed around the outside, and once I figured out I didn't have to get every single one, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a lot easier. So
don't screw yourself later. Leave yourself some sort of path to get back.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't jump on a platform unless you need it. Yeah.
I've had so many moments of just like being on the last platform, like I guess I'm gonna just fall into the space.
Yeah. Bummer. Well, now you got a new idea. Try that.
Yep. Thanks for the tip. Appreciate that.
Anything else, Josh?
No, that's all. I had something else, but it escapes me. So we'll just leave it at that.
Well,
we'll save it for next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
For myself, I'll go real quick. It was my girlfriend's birthday on yesterday, so I took first time I've taken a day off from my newest job, and she took it off too. We just spent the day together, and she actually had to take part of the day and go with her mom to go do some stuff for her birthday, and she just let me chill at her apartment, which was cool. So she in her bedroom, she has like a big, like 65-inch plasma TV. So she let me hang out there, and I have 2 docks. So I just I hooked my second dock, and I actually just leave it at her apartment because I'm over there a lot. And I just played my Switch and hung out in her bed. So it was fun because I was just playing. I finally really got to dive into Ori and the Will-O-Wisps. And I played for like maybe 2 or 3 hours, and really good. I'm really enjoying that game. It really is way better than the first. I mean, I can't even I can't even explain how much better it is, but it really is. It's like jumping from Metroid 1 to Super Metroid and just seeing the updates and the upgrades and what they did to the game. And it is a beautiful game and it sounds beautiful and really inspiring. So that's really all I'm Radical Rexing about. It's fun playing that game. So, but guys, that's enough of Radical Rexing. We've got a lot still to talk about. We're a half hour into this show. Let's fill the last half hour up here with some Donkey Kong Country Returns. Parker, when did this game originally get released for Nintendo Wii?
It came out in America November 21st, 2010.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And just
before I turned 20.
Yeah. Just a few days and it's 10 years old. Can you believe that, guys? Yeah, because I remember getting it. I got it for Christmas that year. My goodness. Wow. Well, I mean, Parker, why don't you take us back? What's your original nostalgic memories for this game?
So, I didn't have a Wii, but my brother, who is 3 years older than me, had a Wii, and he had this game. So this was the first time playing with it, was playing it with him. And this is the same brother from DK3 that always tried to kill me and stuff during the game, even though we were on the same team. So, so I had a lot of fun playing that. And after a while, he kind of got bored of it. And now I asked if I could just borrow his Wii and the game, and I ended up beating the rest of it all by myself. Even though I would have much rather enjoyed playing with somebody else, because I really like playing co-op play. And playing, it's kind of the thing that I always wanted in Donkey Kong Country. I wanted us playing at the same time. And when I found out about, Returns, I'm like, we're playing at the same time? This is awesome. And so you can be different characters and they have different moves. And, that's kind of, motion controls and stuff like that. You could crouch down and blow, or you could roll, you could pound. You can grab walls now. I know you could always grab vines and stuff, but they have grass walls that you can grab. And I played it with the motion controls with the nunchuck analog and the controller. So that's the way I played. It wasn't exactly everything that I wanted. I wish the world would have gone back to how it was in Donkey Kong Country 3, because that was my ideal, what I really liked, where it felt like it was a living, breathing world that you can just kind of wander around. And, this was more fixed, and it was like its own islands and stuff like that. And that's just, it wasn't as magical to me. So, but yeah, I loved the game though. I thought it was very fun. I just got Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, you did.
Was that last year, earlier this year, or
earlier
something
this year,
like that? So, yeah. So I beat that, and I really liked that too. So
yeah, you said you kind of grew an appreciation for Tropical Freeze more as it went on, right?
Yeah, it's. I felt like I ran through it too quickly, Tropical Freeze, but yeah, it was as time grew on. After I'd already beaten, and after I was just sitting with it. I was kind of looking back on it, and I was like, oh, actually, I am liking it a lot more now that it's like looking back on it. So
yeah,
it's
really good. It is. Well, why don't I go the other way around this time? And Josh, why don't you tell us your original nostalgic memories for this game?
All right, so it's kind of funny talking about nostalgic memories with this one. Just thinking back that it's already 10 years old is hard to believe, because that original trilogy is where a lot of my like core nostalgia lies, so to speak. So yeah, with Returns, that was definitely something I was really excited about. The original trilogy, a lot of it originally my dad and I had played through. Back in the mid 90s when each of them came out. So we were really looking forward to that. And I remember going over to his house and stuff, playing through some of Returns. So that was exciting. That was definitely something I didn't see coming with the whole, one with Rare just being gone, with Microsoft and not being the same regardless. But I never thought it would just return with the same name, and at least a similar feel and idea concept, platformer and all of that sort of thing. But this time by Retro, which I think they've done a pretty fine job with the two they've made. I wish they would get to a third one. Honestly, I'd be perfectly fine with them continuing with it. Without going too far into my thoughts already. Yeah, that's sort of my nostalgia for it. I definitely remember being excited to see it come back.
Chris?
So I never played any of the original Donkey Kong Country games except for the first one recently. So, as I mentioned before, the Super Nintendo, or what am I saying? This Nintendo 64 was my first console ever. So I just never had an opportunity to play the Super Nintendo games. And my first real game that was like my game that I looked forward to and like was so hyped for was Donkey Kong 64, and that got me into gaming, period. And nice. I just was obsessed with that game. Me and my best friend, we played that constantly for like years, literally years.
Awesome.
And just loved that game. And so we didn't really get a true sequel to that, and we still haven't, but that's fine. But along the way, I was able to appreciate Donkey Kong games for what they were and how unique they were. So I really loved Donkey Kong Jungle Beat for GameCube. I love that game, even though there's probably never going to be another one like that. I loved the Game Boy Advance game King of Swing and its sequel Jungle Climber. I thought they were very unique and fun. I just always wanted to experience those originals, those Super Nintendo originals. And this was a really great way for me to be able to kind of experience those, because it's kind of like, I don't know, like the best of those games, kind of like a reimagining in a way. And so I was looking forward to that game so much when it was announced. Like when the E3 trailer came out, it looked amazing, and I just loved the style. I loved that Retro was making it. The music sounded awesome. So when I think of the Wii, I think of Donkey Kong Country Returns for some reason. I was so hyped for that game, and I still love it very, very much to this day.
Very cool. Well, that's good, man. People might think that find my relationship with this game a little different. I mean, because I'm such a Donkey Kong geek, I'm a fanatic. I have a lot of nostalgia for Donkey Kong Country, but I'm not like Josh, and I'm not like what you would think, because I didn't own a Super Nintendo, and my memories with Donkey Kong Country were always, every time I was with Traven, my best buddy Traven, growing up since preschool days, and going to his house, and that would be my only exposure to mainly Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2. He didn't have the third one. So at this time, I wasn't a nerd about it. I didn't realize how much of a nerd I was for Donkey Kong Country until basically within the last 5 years. I kind of, because I really had a job where I started, when we started this podcast, I was into a lot of different podcasts, and I really became known from the Conversation. If you guys have ever listened over there, it's not a family friendly podcast, but they do cover basically all rare related stuff. And it woke my inner Kong, and it made me realize how much I love Donkey Kong, and how much, because like so many of my memories just stem back. I always sided with Donkey Kong, and like in Mario Kart, any Mario Party game, any sports game. I did it. And Smash Bros, the original Smash Bros, I went to Donkey Kong. Like, I didn't realize how much I really love Donkey Kong until I started listening to this podcast, and I realized it all stemmed back to my nostalgic memories for the first 2 games with Traven. So when this game came out, I wasn't like Josh, like, oh my gosh, or Chris, this is back. This is crazy. This is insane. I had Donkey Kong 64 too, by the way, but I absolutely loved it up and down. But I was really excited because I'm like, yeah, oh man, I haven't played a Donkey Kong Country game in a long time. So this was going to be my first like own country game, and I thought that was really cool. And I remember getting it for Christmas, and weird circumstances. I remember it so vividly because I got it for Christmas of 2010, and ironically, my ex-girlfriend at the time, who is now my ex-wife, we had just broken up like months before. So I was like in a depressed state, and didn't know what was going to happen. And this game helped me get through a depressing time. I got it, and then we ended up getting back together like right after. And then we got married, and the rest is history now. They say happy endings are just stories that never end. Just to be a Debbie Downer here. Just kidding. But it's just weird how like 10 years later we're talking about it, and I'm kind of been in the same boat with that person. But yeah, so it was really exciting to get the game. I remember we beating the game with my niece Melanie, who's now a freaking junior in high school at the time. She was just a little elementary student kid, and I remember her coming over, and we beat the final boss together, and it was just a fun time. I remember her and I hanging out. We're really close, so we still are. But with that said, I think that's a prime way to let's transition into the game itself. Talking about the game, one thing I noticed, and I did not understand, I kept asking myself, what are the alligator guys? Like, where are the Kremlings? When are they going to show up? I kept looking for them. I was waiting for them, and I noticed they weren't in the game. And you got to realize Donkey Kong Country Returns actually, for me personally, was one of the first games to get me back into gaming, because I had basically gone on a hiatus through high school. I only played games here or there. I was not following the scene. I missed the whole E3 with the Wii music. I didn't even see an E3 for Donkey Kong Country Returns. I was out of gaming, guys. I was all about girls and my pop punk Christian band and finishing high school. And I was playing shows on the weekends. Really did not play many games. And it was that and football, and that was my life. So I done with high school. I was an adult, and I needed something to fill that stopgap of football and what I was getting there. And I started to get back into gaming. And I didn't know what was happening. I didn't realize this is made by. I guess I didn't really correlate that Rare always made all the games, and this was the first one outside of Rare in the Country series. But yeah, that was a big thing to me. I was like, where are the Kremlings? And that was a bit to this day. I think it's a shame that they were never even in that or in the sequel, and that bothered me. Outside of that, I mean, the game's really fun to play, and the levels are very unique. What'd you guys think? Was the lack of Kremlings bothering you guys? I know it bothered Josh for sure. Chris, probably not. Yeah, because you didn't really play them. But Parker, maybe you. What'd you guys think?
I was not a fan of the kind of jungle beat characters, just because they were like instruments and stuff like that. I prefer actual. I don't know why, but I'm like I prefer actual animals to be facing against, and I'm like, well, this is kind of silly. But yeah, I definitely miss the Kremlings. I thought they were very cool, very unique, from 1, 2, and 3 that I loved. Oh, and also 64, which I also really liked, Donkey Kong 64. But yeah, I'm right with you, Jacob, that I definitely miss the Kremlings, and it was one thing that kind of turned me off of that game was the bad guys in the game. And I actually enjoyed when we faced an actual animal, and I was like, oh, okay, well, at least one of the bosses is an animal. But yeah, so that was one thing, and that was another thing I liked about Tropical Freeze is they basically brought back animal enemies. So
I'll say with you were mentioning kind of like me with having nostalgia for the beginning of the series. I definitely missed the Kremlins. I was okay with seeing a different bad guy for a little while. I think it hit me a little more when Tropical Freeze rolled around. It was kind of annoying that they didn't just bring K. Rool and the crew back. But I mean, it wasn't that huge of a deal. It was the Tikis are kind of cool anyhow, but they were a little bit of a weird replacement for crocodiles. That seemed a little more menacing. Now, I think my biggest problem with the game was, I guess that was part of it, but goes a little bit beyond that with the characters. Like with even Donkey Kong Country 1, you had Cranky at his house, you had Candy, you had Funky Kong. They were all non-playable, but they were all there. K. Rool and all of them, all iconic, and you saw multiple times in the series from there. And this one, it felt like it was trying to harken back to that original one really. So it went a little bit beyond the Kremlins missing. It was more like just all the characters from the past games. Like with the original DKC, you had Candy and Funky and all of that sort of thing. Just a little more character. The animal buddies, like multiple ones there. They had Rambi, which this did have Rambi. And Guard.
That was it.
Yeah. Basically. And Squawks was in this, but he was like reduced to an item to find puzzle pieces. Things like that I kind of missed. And it just seemed like it was trying to harken so hard back to the original, with the locations, even the factory, the forest, the caves, things like that, that it sort of limited itself. There wasn't as many new locations and such as there could have been, like with 2 and 3 from coming from 1. It didn't stand out as sharp as I feel like they all did separate from each other, if that sort of makes sense. That was the only thing I guess that kind of bothered me as like a longtime fan. Is it was almost like New Super Mario Brothers, how it almost felt like a step backwards, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's just sort of my initial thoughts on that side of it. I very much would like to see the Kremlins come back.
Yeah, I don't totally disagree with your reasonings, everyone's reasonings for being disappointed that the Kremlings aren't there. But, I played Donkey Kong 64. The Kremlings aren't that, so I am pretty familiar and have some nostalgia for them. But I actually really appreciated that they did something completely different and added these characters. I think that for this game, they were more focused on gameplay. And when you think about gameplay, the Kremlings don't really offer too much in like their character design. Whereas with these new like Tiki characters, they have all these interesting, unique, forms of variety to them. And they offer all these different potential. They have all this different potential for like gameplay because of that. So I think it was they just wanted to make the game a little bit more, I don't know, better from a gameplay perspective. And by having these new characters, they would allow for that. But I kind of feel like it's a game that runs parallel to the original games. Like I feel like the originals with the Kremlings are their own thing, and then these new, Returns and Tropical Freeze, they're kind of their own thing too. Like without the Kremlings, I feel like putting the Kremlings in these new games just would be odd, like with the style that they have chosen. So I can appreciate both types of games in their own unique ways. But yeah, I don't know. I will probably mention 900 times, I love this game. I love the characters. I think what they brought into this game, what they offered and introduced into this game are very interesting. I don't think many of them came back in Tropical Freeze, but it was a fun one-off for some of them. And yeah, I don't know. I like the characters personally.
Honestly, I really feel like the Tiki tribe was very weak. I didn't really care for them. I didn't care for the final boss was fine, but I really did not care that much for them, honestly. Tropical Freeze didn't have the Kremlings in it, and I thought they were just much better thought out bosses, different personalities. I really liked the villains in the sequel a lot better. But I do disagree. I mean, I feel like taking out the Kremlings is like saying we're just not going to put Bowser in the next 2 games and the Koopa Troopas, and it's just going to be all different villains. Because
I mean, they've done that with Zelda though. They haven't had Ganondorf for some of the Zelda games.
I guess so, but
it's not like they're the most beloved games, the ones that don't have Ganondorf, but they have done that.
Right. I can remember. I really feel like Majora's Mask is probably the only one that is like a no. There's more. I'm saying to me, there's like more than just Majora's Mask that really like it didn't bother me. As a matter of fact, I told you guys before that Majora's was my first Zelda game, so I actually didn't know that there was a Ganondorf for many years. Me too. I'm always bothered when I don't see Majora. Like I would love to see a sequel with him in it, since that was my first. Mm-hmm. But well, let's talk about the gameplay. Obviously, one thing that Miyamoto did was he reinforced. He really wanted motion in this game, and they had to work a way around that. And I remember you could shake the Wii remote up and down, which you would roll, and it was a pretty impressive roll. I mean, it was a powerful roll, and you could make some long distance jumps by doing that. And you could bend down, and you could blow into the Wii remote, and then Donkey Kong would blow on dandelions or something, or fire or whatever. What do you guys think about the uniqueness of the Wii remote? I mean, Josh is over here saying like, oh boy, here we go. I can see him. You didn't like it, Josh?
Well, like, I very much respect Miyamoto. Trust me. But this is one of those times I kind of feel like I wish he wouldn't have like used his power to make them feel pressured to add something into the game that didn't really necessarily need to be there. I think at first, at least when I first played it, I don't remember like it sticking out real bad. Like I remember the motion, like having to shake to roll, not really bothering me all that much. I think it more feels weird going back to it. I don't think it holds up as well. Now, granted, you can use like the Wii Classic controller or whatever it was called, and that's not so much of a problem. But especially like the blow mechanic, I don't quite get where that came from. It's not even in Tropical Freeze. They got rid of it. But it just, you have to come to a complete stop, hold down, and then like in this game's instance, you have to shake the remote after that to occasionally get like one banana out of a flower or sometimes a puzzle piece or something bigger. Mm-hmm. But that just felt really like it just stopped the momentum. And it wasn't like a Donkey Kong thing to do. You know? Right. That's just my thought on it.
I feel like it added to the game and the gameplay. Like it wasn't, to me, like it wasn't necessary, but I felt like it was a cool little thing you could do. Like I didn't mind it.
Donkey Kong just wanted to stop and blow some dandelions and stuff. So,
yeah, I know.
And there's a lot of dandelions. Can't blame them.
I'm overstating it maybe. Like I don't absolutely hate it. I guess to play the other side of the fence, that was one of the weird things that stuck out. I don't want to sound like I dislike this game because I very much like it. It's out of the 5 country games, it's probably at the bottom. It fights for that 5th or 4th slot somewhere in there, probably 5th. But that doesn't mean I don't like it. There's definitely reasons it's as low as it is on that list.
Right.
I don't know. I like the controls. Maybe it's because I am not that familiar with the previous ones, but I really appreciated that this is like a different type of platformer from the ones that I'm used to. Like Yoshi has kind of its own feel, Mario has his own feel, Kirby has his own feel, and so Donkey Kong also has his own feel, and you can feel his weight with these controls, and it's kind of something that you have to factor into when you're playing the game, because he's so big that like when you jump he kind of takes that like extra step, so you have to take that into account when you're making your jumps and stuff. I thought the blowing thing was very random, but I mean, the reason why we love Nintendo so much is because they just include random weird things like that, and it's one of those things where it's just so dumb I just can't help but love it. But it is very odd, it is very out of place, but they did have some pretty cool ways of incorporating it into the gameplay. Like if you just like sometimes you just get so obsessed with the jumping and the platforming that you don't really take a moment to appreciate your surroundings, and so many times we'll kind of like overlook these dandelions or these like these flying things, and so when you do notice them you're just like, oh wait, I can blow on this, and then maybe you'll get a coin or something. So I just thought it was like a unique way to mix it up, and it's not like it was really that required, but I really did like the shaking the Wii remote and nunchuck to like ground pound. It's really silly and not necessary, but it's just one of those things where it kind of like you feel like you're an extension of Donkey Kong's arms or whatever. Like it's a little more, I don't know, immersive, I think the word is. So while I didn't really miss it that much in Tropical Freeze, I just thought it was a pretty clever idea, considering the controller that we were given. But I appreciated that it's a very different feeling type of platformer. So yeah.
Parker?
Yeah, I agree mostly with Josh that it's hard. I think it's harder to come back to. I remember playing it for the first time, and I had no problem with it because I remember just like, oh, this is kind of different. I enjoyed kind of the shaking for rolling, but I am a very controller guy. I'm not a motion control person for controls especially my platformers. Most of the Wii games I did buy were all ones that you could turn the controller sideways, and that's how I played the game. But yeah, the crouching down and shaking the controllers to blow, I had no problem with that. I thought it was a cool little addition. Every once in a while it would be a puzzle piece. So most of the time it was like Chris said or Josh said that it was one banana or a coin. It was like, oh, okay, I'm glad I spent the time to do that. But yeah, and then the pounding, I thought the pounding on the ground for the drums to like open up I thought that was kind of cool. And so I didn't have too much of a problem with it, but when I did try to go back to it, I was struggling to like make the jumps like that. And it could have been user error, or I was like, well, maybe it's these Wii controllers don't work too well anymore, or I'm playing on a newer smart TV and I'm playing on the original Wii console that's not HDMI. So maybe it's that. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, that's my thoughts on the control.
One thing I'd like to add actually is that with this type of game, for me, it also kind of felt like it was like a rhythm game in a way, where the platforming is just so precise and demands that you be like that you like really learn the level to kind of complete it the way that they intended it to. And so once you get the hang of things, it becomes kind of like a rhythm game. Like there is a rhythm to the types of obstacles that you face. So that was kind of fun. Like once you get into the swing of things, it just kind of, you just go into this type of flow with each level. But
the swing of things.
Yeah. No pun intended. And also, I actually totally forgot about this too. I don't remember Tropical Freeze too much because I got it when it came out, but they incorporated depth into the stages. So there's foreground, background, and beyond that. And I just thought that was a really clever type of thing. They kind of played with that with the the Smash Brothers stage in Smash Brothers for Wii U, and I guess it wasn't popular enough for them to bring it back to Ultimate. But it was a clever idea, a nice way to mix things up for a 2D platformer.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I mean, I think that I prefer it without the motion controls, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it ruined my experience. I thought they were fine. I enjoyed it. And once you, just like with anything, once you get into a rhythm of it, you really start to get going with it. Let's talk about this. I want to dip into the deep story of the game. You know, so it's very deep. I mean, it's better than Breath of the Wild. Let's be honest. That story was really had some holes in it there. But I mean, you start off in DK's hut, just like the good old days on the Super Nintendo, and there's a Tiki guy, and he's like, it's pretty funny actually. He's like, they're hypnotizing all the animals, and they're all coming to become their slaves. Spoilers. And they go and they steal Donkey Kong's banana hoard. All of his bananas that he has stashed up, they steal them, and DK sees this, and they try to one of them tries to hypnotize DK, and it's funny because DK just looks at him blankly in the face, basically kind of indicating like he's dumb. Like he's so dumb you can't even hypnotize him. And he just punches him in the face and knocks the dude out of his hut. He goes after his bananas. I thought it was pretty humorous. And that's as deep as it gets. You go back and get Donkey Kong's bananas back, just like the first game. The hoard was stolen by King K. Rool, and he got mad, so he went to go find his bananas. I thought it was really cool to add in the element of like collecting puzzle pieces. That was new. They did not have that in the old games. It definitely added a lot more, I don't know, be brave and test the waters type of thing.
New challenge.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that a lot, along with the traditional Kong letters. And what else? I mean, the story, again, that's as deep as it gets. But I really liked the music. Even though the interesting thing here, there was no really new composer to it. I mean, they just had one of their Japanese composers basically remix a bunch of old Donkey Kong country tunes, and so you still had the feelings of the old games, but nothing was original or redone really, for that matter. Whereas that was one thing Retro took to heart for the sequel. They got David Wise back, and David Wise redid a bunch of stuff and made new tracks for the game that was original for Tropical Freeze, the sequel. But, I mean, the music wasn't bad. It was good. Oh, they added the rocket levels, too. That was new to Donkey Kong, and that was cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of different types of levels, too. They also have the shadow levels where, you know,
silhouette.
Yeah, exactly. And those were really cool. They had, like, throwbacks to the Game & Watch and the original Donkey Kong construction site level. So I thought that was a very clever implementation of that. If I could speak to the story bit just for a moment, one of the levels that I was playing before was the robot chicken boss, and that level starts off with like the robot chicken squishing bananas to like make the cream for the Tiki things. I guess they like the Tiki guys exist because they I don't know, because of banana cream. They're like made of banana cream. And when Donkey Kong walked in to like see them crushing his bananas,
yes,
like, oh, you little.
They were like
so mad,
taken back, like, oh my gosh. I know what you're talking about. I thought about that same thing. There's good humor in the game. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and there's I mean, there's not really a story like you said, but there's world building in the levels themselves. I'm sure we'll talk about the graphics and stuff, but like, with the octopus stage where there's this like massive octopus that's just being this massive figure in the background and kind of like screwing with you as you're going throughout the level, where to the point where like the octopus becomes the level. But anyway, you kind of notice that there's like this story going on as the level progresses.
Yeah.
So even though there's not really a story, it's still telling a story about that stage as you progress in it. So it's really
cool. Well, and even this isn't about the return retro Donkey Kong games, but like that guy makes a return in Tropical Freeze, which is literally like one of my most favorite levels in all of Donkey Kong games. Like I love that level against him. He returns, and it's really cool. I'm glad you brought him up. I did want to dive another reason why it kind of goes in with the story and the gameplay is that you're checking out Donkey Kong Island for the first time and from the same perspective that you did in the first Donkey Kong Country game. And a reason that the Kremlings, this is big to me, and I think it's big to a lot of people, but I think the masses don't really care if you don't follow it like us nerds. But I'm big on continuity, and it bothers me if like stuff has remnants of, in like the Kremlings in the first 3 country games, and then all of a sudden you come back and it's like they never existed. Like, where'd they go?
What if it was a prequel? What if it was before the Kremlings ever got there?
I mean, that's possible. I suppose that is very well possible. They never ever did state that, but no, it's not true. It's not a sequel. It's not a prequel, because by the time you get to the factory, and this is where I talk about my appreciation. This is what really I appreciated this. Once you get to the factory area, it's like all foggy, and you got to get to this whole fog mess, and you turn the giant fans on, and it kind of clears it out. And that's the same area that the Kremlings are, Fear Factory are in Donkey Kong Country, the first one, where the factory's alive and it's their Kremlings are using it. And in this game, it really showed it like it hasn't been touched in years, basically because the Kremlings have been gone. That's why it's fogged over. That's why things are rusted up and falling apart, because it's just been sitting there. And the Kongs never go in there. So I thought that was really cool, even though it wasn't like a direct like, oh, there's Kremling statues here, but it just laid way. It just showed how the island had aged since the original game, and I thought that was cool. So I'm glad they did that for sure. But that's one reason why it bothered me. The Kremlings weren't in it too. Just continuity. I like continuity, man, and they'll bring him back. They will after him being in Smash. So I'm not worried about that anymore. But at the time, that I thought that was really cool that they did that. And even the volcano is at the very top. You see, even in Tropical Freeze, like everything's iced over, and when you get to the volcano area, you end up falling through you can fall through the ice, and there's like a whole lava area down below, because that's where the volcano is. And I thought that's really cool too, that they did that in the sequel. But guys, any other comments about like the music or the gameplay and anything that maybe you admired about the game as we kind of round out the show here?
I think where you mentioned the music there, I think, again, looking back is where things get kind of weird for me, just in the grand scheme of things, comparing the 5 of them. Because it kind of annoys me, actually, that David Wise this is the only one he didn't compose, and he is like my favorite composer ever. And you can kind of tell.
Do 3.
Did he not do 3? Was that was Evelyn Fisher?
Evelyn, and he did not do 64.
Yeah, Grant Kirkhope did that one. But okay,
Nerds.
That's right. He didn't do 3. Anyway, but you can kind of tell, like with this one, it's just like remixes. It's just like remixes mostly of the first one. There's some kind of new stuff in there. But again, that's just kind of one of those things that kind of bothers me at looking at the grand scheme of all 5 of them, all lined up against each other. But there really was a lot to still love here. I mean, it wasn't all just retread. You had like the beach and the cliff. The cliff was actually my favorite world in it. I thought that was pretty cool, with like the dinosaur bones and the tar and all of that sort of thing. That was completely new. But yeah, I really, just to kind of reiterate how much I do actually still enjoy this one. The added puzzle pieces, the things that Retro added were mostly all great. I just feel like they kind of stripped away some things, and I don't really see the reason why. But hey, what the heck? Tropical Freeze ended up turning out to be awesome anyhow.
It did.
So, yeah, that's about my thoughts on it from there.
Were there any levels? I mean, you point out the octopus. Any levels that maybe you can think back that were just so darn difficult that really frustrated you?
I will say, if I can pick up off of there, just right off the top of my head, the Mole Train boss on hard mode, when you had just one hit on it and you were just Donkey Kong, that one in particular sticks out. And all of the temple levels, like when you would get a fully 100% it.
Temple levels, that's a whole nother category of frustration, even when you're not in hard mode.
No checkpoints, and you'd get near the end of it and die, and then you'd have to do it all over again. Those legitimately frustrated me.
Very frustrating.
In the mole boss train level, you can actually skip an entire cycle if right at the beginning, if you roll forward and jump over to the other carts.
Oh yeah.
You'll skip the cycle where the big mole will throw pickaxe at you. So I didn't know that before until I heard someone else say that, and I was like, oh, look at that. So that's one thing you could do to make that a little bit easier. But
I learned that when it was too late. I think I learned it when I got around to the 3DS version of it. I kind of accidentally pulled it off.
Yeah, originally I didn't know it when I beat it for the first time. I didn't know that, but yeah. So a few levels that not necessarily that I thought were difficult, but that I really liked. I liked all the silhouette levels where you can just see Donkey Kong's tie and
super cool
DK's shirt and hat. So I thought that was super unique and
beautiful.
Yeah, and then there's a level where you ride a whale, which I thought was kind of cool. Kind of brought me back to some Super Mario Bros. 2. There's a whale level there, so I enjoyed that one where you can, you pound on his blowhole and he blows you up with water. And then the music was actually very calming in that whale level, because a couple of the songs that I didn't actually realize that it was all songs that were remixed, but a few of them I'm like, this is a really good song. But I didn't like that basically all the Rocket Blaster levels all had the same music, and there's a lot of levels that just had the same music, and I was like, well, you wish they would have something a little bit different. But the one of my favorite levels though is when there's a whole bunch of waves coming at you to hide behind rocks, otherwise you get washed away. I thought that was super unique, and I thought that was pretty creative, and you're trying to sprint forward and then get behind a rock before the wave comes through, and if you're not hidden behind something, then you get washed off and you lose a life. And there's some platforms that you can hide behind, but then they break away, so you can only use them once, but you shouldn't have to use them more than once. And then there's a lot of sinking lava levels. So
yes, those are frustrating.
I actually, in the kind of, at least new to me, the new takes on the minecart levels in this one that I enjoyed, that you would either jump with the minecart or it was separate where just the Kongs would jump up. Mm-hmm. And then there's a couple rolling tracks where the track's actually moving too. So that's all. It was new to me. I don't know if they did that in any Konga games or Barrel Blast or anything like that, but I thought that was cool. And there was an egg that was rolling at one point that you're rolling on top of the egg, and then it rolls on a kind of like a tooth and it breaks open. So then it creates a gap that you have to jump over, but you're constantly still riding around on that egg. So,
yeah.
That's so cool.
I thought that was pretty cool.
So. And Chris, what about you, man?
One of my favorite areas, it was one that I kind of forgot about but played today, and I was like, oh, I love this level. So it's called Peaceful Pier, and it starts off in this really serene beach, and it's such a beautiful song, kind of like has a chill, like tropical Caribbean vibe to it. Mm-hmm. And it's called Peaceful Pier, but then as you progress in the level, a whole pirate ship full of crabs with like eye patches and forks for hooks starts coming, and they start shooting all these cannons at you, and then it becomes one of those like flying barrel levels. So it's called Peaceful Pier, but it becomes anything but peaceful. It becomes really chaotic. So I thought that was like a fun little tease where you expect this like really nice tropical beach level, but no, you're on a barrel avoiding all these cannons and stuff. So that was fun. That's one of my favorite ones. And I always like to see animals be pirates. But something that I realized while I was playing some of these levels is that there's a lot of replayability to the game because, you can't just play one level once. You have to, first you have to beat it so that you can progress in the game. And then you can go back to get all the puzzle pieces or the Kong letters and stuff. And then you can go back to just master the level and just get a faster time or something. So I think it's really cool that there's all these different ways to play, and finding the more difficult pieces are optional if you would like an extra challenge, but they're not necessary. But I also really liked two things. I really liked the graphics because, the Wii, this came out at the end of the Wii's lifespan, and obviously the Wii was not the most powerful thing, but they kind of embraced the jagginess of Wii graphics, and they kind of just went with it. And so I kind of like the art style where it's kind of these exaggerated caricature designs, and I just thought that was a very, very cool look, and it's very bright and colorful, and there's lots of variety to the levels, so I really appreciate that. And also there's just so much animation going on in all of these stages. Everything around you is completely animated. The trees are flowing, the grass is flowing, the water is flowing in the background, and all the characters are moving so smoothly. So not many Wii games were able to do that, so that was a really fun thing. And also I really like the sound design in the game. When you get those coins, that is my favorite video game sound ever. That echoing, I just love it. It's the most satisfying sound ever, and I think that's what made me hooked to the game. So I love getting those coins. And and I like the music because it one of my first experiences with Nintendo in general was with Smash Brothers, and a lot of us were introduced to certain franchises because of Smash Brothers. Yep. So as I was playing the game, I'm like, oh, I remember this music from these certain stages, and the playlists that you can make in some of the games. So so that was fun. Yeah, I just love this game. I've nothing but good things to say about it. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously we can talk it to death about what we loved. I thought the dinosaur area was really cool, where you had a bunch of fossil bones, and I can't tell you how many times I tried to make some crazy jump and I failed epically, and I ended up falling into a secret. And that's the stuff that blows me away, and it annoys me and makes me even more OCD because I want 100% everything or 102% whatever, and I'm like, dude, if I did not accidentally fall down here, I don't down this. It's one of those feelings. I'm like, what have I missed? That's kind of my mindset with when that happens. But I'm going to end off with what something that frustrated me. One of those levels that just made me want to pull my hair out to no end. It's the last rocket level against the Bat. I mean, that dude. I just remember it. I remember playing with my buddy Brad Hunzinger, and he was at my place. And dude, it just took us forever. I could not beat this level, and I don't know why. I mean, you think you're almost you think you're almost through it, and then he really gains on you, and it's shooting that laser at you through his mouth, and it was very, very difficult. Probably outside of the temple levels, that's the one that just personally gave me a really hard time. I don't know why. We all have our own hooks. Some levels are easier to us than it is for others, but that one was hard for me. Guys, I really think that's pretty good about this game. It's a great game. You can find it still at GameStops. You can find it. You can probably buy it on Amazon still. It's the Wii. Even though it's been a decade, it's still relevant. And it got re-released on the 3DS, so you can get that on the 3DS if you want that. So
I think it's on Wii U as well, the Wii U eShop.
Yeah, you're right. In the eShop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you were one of the 5 people that bought a Wii U,
compatible.
you can get it.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. But besides that, Josh, why don't you round us out here, man, and just tell everybody where they can find us.
Alrighty. Well, you can always find us on Twitter at Nintendo_nostalgia. I apologize, I almost said that incorrectly. Twitter has updated on me and I am lost. Anyhow, you can always find us also on Facebook at the Facebook group Nintendo Nostalgia. That is a good place to go and hang out and just post whatever Nintendo related fun stuff you want to and hang out with us a bit. Other than that, we are also on Instagram.
Very good. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for another week of Nintendo Nostalgia. You can no longer expect Ryan to be on because we're done with that guy. Parker just nailed it out of the park with his Donkey Kong love. So, with that said, guys, you have a good one, and we'll be back next week. See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I just love it. It's the most satisfying sound ever.